Okay, so comments, questions from the floor. Wow. Please. You'll shout out if you don't get the mic.
My name's Michael Solomon. I work for Responsible 100. I'm not sure, Leo, if you really pressed Mike on whether he was going to support community clothing or not. He asked some sort of questions as a sort of investor, like he was sizing them up. But I don't remember the answer.
I think I've been too soft. I've been too much. Go on then, Mike. Would you stock local clothing from the clothing company?
Of course, because I think I've said very clearly, globalisation is breaking down.
That sounded like a deal. That was a deal.
So, the idea that you just ship all your clothing in from around the world, things are going to change. You're going to want things that produce much more locally. Now, what you're probably not going to do is just buy it locally for the sake of buying it locally. There has to be a value proposition here that says speed to market or a really compelling local community story. Now, you're probably not in the short term, maybe longer term, but not in the short term, going to have a factory in every community, certainly in the way that we can use. So this is why I was probing a little bit about the business model of the future. Do you imagine that this is going to be a shop with a factory in one of 100, 500, 1,000 British communities? Or is this a network of 10 to 100 factories servicing stores remotely from them and online as well?
I think the physical store thing isn't important to us at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think our presence in the community where we work is really important. But as I said before, to a certain extent, our presence in the community doesn't actually need to extend beyond the factory door for us to be having a positive impact if we're measuring social impact. Because if I'm creating jobs, I could just give up then and see that as enough. We do all the other stuff because I think that's really, really important, and it has a wonderful galvanizing quality that I think is part of the DNA of our brand. I don't think physical spaces are particularly important. We kind of have a shop by accident in Blackburn because we were given the space, and it's an old cotton storage warehouse. It's amazing. It's got all of the old Victorian mechanism. It's a wonderful reminder of why we're there on a street where nothing else currently exists. But that's an amazing hub of a space to have, and I think it's taught us the value of it. But I would much rather have a map that was totally full of factories in the UK and projects that related to those places than I would stores. I want to be able to sell online. What's a wonderful thing about being able to sell online with Selfridges, to the 92 countries they ship to. I'm much more interested in that scale of customer and that pattern of physical space, I think.
So your concept of anywhere versus somewhere is the physical manufacture rather than the selling. You don't need to be present in the community to sell.
Definitely.
But to answer the question, Michael, it's a conversation we can have.
We have a question at the back of the room here.
Hi, it's Victoria Morehouse from Costa Coffee. I guess it's a question for all of the panel. How do you measure community impact in your respective industries or businesses?
Community impact?
I'll say a very brief word. I mean, I think the reason we've gone to 10 pilot communities over the next 2 years is to say we don't yet measure it well enough. So I can tell you that we've created 17,000 jobs across all our stores in the last 10 years for people facing real barriers to work. Of course, that's had some value for society. Can I put pounds, shillings and pence on it? No, I can't. Can I actually measure, talking to 17,000 individuals, how they feel about that and with the transformation it's made to their lives? No, I can't. I can just extrapolate and hope. So I think we need to become much better at measuring the difference we're making, not just for numbers' sake, but just to say, if M&S has got a certain finite amount of deployable resources, not just money, but skills and networks, I'm better using it to get the maximum social benefit and not just squandering it across lots of things that don't work.
Anyone want to add? Do you want to add?
Yeah, I was going to say very badly, I think, and I think most people would say the same because I think that's quite a broad term, community impact. So, for example, when we went from a big national charity of the year where you're talking about, one organisation that's having a big impact. So, for example, you can work with the British Heart Foundation and, raise £10 million and fund X number of nurses. Then you can, it's very, very focused. But with us, every year we support about 450 local organisations. Some are small and some are large, To some, we're raising hundreds of pounds and giving a few hours of volunteering. For some, we're raising thousands of pounds and giving hours of volunteering. So actually, for us, it's really quite challenging because part of us has to say, we're not going to transform a community with that kind of support, but we can maybe provide important support to an organisation that might be doing something transformative in that community. And that, for us at the moment, is more important, but that will probably change over time.
Can I stop? Yeah.
Just 30 seconds as well. I think the true challenge here is not just the measurement that you do, it's the skills of your people locally. So if I look back 30 years of history at M&S, our store managers, he or she played this role in their local community. They were big characters. Think Bet Lynch from Coronation Street. They knew everybody larger than life. They spent as much time outside the store as in it. We spent the last 20 or 30 years in terms of efficiency just running every store in the same way across the British Isles. And every store is unique. And actually helping, not teaching our people, but giving them the belief that they're allowed to go out and do that all over again is actually the biggest challenge here. It's not the measurement side, it's the skills side.
Can I just ask a question? No, go on.
Sorry, I would just add to that I think when we talk about measurement, this is a really hard area to grapple with because a lot of your stories were really anecdotal. But what else do you expect in terms of measuring community spirit or the impact on place? The single most defining moment where I realised we had an impact in the community was when our shop was broken into before Christmas. And I've never been so cross about anything. And to cut a long story short, Naomi, our shop Saturday girl, who is a bootstrap employee, managed to sell a pair of jeans to the policeman while they were fingerprinting the shop. Now, A, she nailed it, and B, that's community spirit. You don't get any closer than that. And so I think it's measuring is a hard thing to do, and I don't think we should shy away from the anecdotal nature of it.
Are you doing something super cool? Are you doing Internet of Things, traceability
Costa
of fair trade
donated the coffee machine to our shop in Blackburn, so we know that you're.
Are you doing something? Have you got something up your sleeve on this?
No, it's a really difficult topic. Sort of social enterprises. I think how you actually measure success, and actually, Mike, you mentioned that you're trying to transform 1,000 communities. How will you know when you've done that? You have to measure it to actually understand if you've been successful, and it's an incredibly intangible thing to measure. So I'm just really keen to get everyone's views on how you do it.
Yeah. Please. 3 questions okay, so we're running out of time a little bit, so maybe if we can ask the questions quite swift and we'll try to be pithy with the, please.
My question, I'm Annie Wasesko from Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. I'd be interested to know how technology is helping you go local and connect people with people.
Okay, who wants this? One person?
Yeah, I got this. So, but no, I say that because the structure of Code Club is based online, right? So one thing that we do is we create these what we think are world-class learning materials, and they live online, so that's one way. Secondly, we connect volunteers with venues also online. So we basically have kind of a dating service, and it geographically matches volunteers who want to run a code club with venues who are looking for a volunteer, and then they can talk to each other via that service and set up their club, and it's active, and then they can access all the projects. So everything that we do and the entire way that we scale Code Club is all using technology and is based online.
I'm really sorry, Liv, but just a very quick point. We've got 6 million members of something called Sparks Club, a loyalty system that we have within M&S. Traditionally, we'd have sent the same email to all of them saying 6 million people be aware of M&S is doing Plan A. On Friday, we sent everybody an individual email saying this is what your local store is doing for your local community.
Can I just say, Mike, 2 people forwarded that specific email to me to say, look what M&S are doing in the local community.
More question. We had 2 more on this table, please.
Hi, my name is Kayla. Thank you very much for the presentations. They're very interesting. I had 2 quick questions. One for Claire, which is how you recruit and attract girls and minority children in particular who might not necessarily be attracted to coding. And for Mike, I just found it kind of interesting when you said that M&S is looking to transform 1,000 communities and that you form partnerships with Boots, WH Smith, these other companies who are looking perhaps to do the same or to establish a presence on High Street in each of these communities. But it seems to me that having this sort of shopping list of franchises on every high street is the exact opposite of local, going local, and having a sense of what is local. So how can you address this tension?
30 seconds each from the two of you.
Okay. So when I first designed Code Club and the whole brand of Code Club, I tried really hard to make it like not gender specific in any way, and not to try and make it kind of attractive to particular genders. So 40% of the students that attend Code Club are girls. That's not bad. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. We don't actually collect any information on ethnicity, so I can't tell you. We are working very specifically to target the top, or bottom, I suppose, 1% of the most deprived particular postcodes in the UK at the moment. More on that when we find out how we've done. But yeah, that's all I can tell you.
Yeah, great question. And part of the work we did with business in the community over the last 3 years on this Healthy High Street programme was to encourage the development of local small businesses. Realistically, the bigger brands, you're going to see fewer and fewer of their shops in the community, more and more people going online. If we're going to prosper in the future as Marks and Spencer on those high streets, we can't just have the usual suspects next to us. We need a vibrant, diverse marketplace around us. So one of the things we were trialling in these 10 communities is how we support to a much greater extent local social entrepreneurs. Rather than hoping that people form successful businesses around us, we need to go out more actively to help create them.
We've got time, I've been told, unfortunately, for one last question. One last question. One last question. Please.
It's really a question for Bella and Mike. Do you find your corporate structure fights against what you're trying to do in the community? Because obviously your large PLCs and your employees are employees, they're not partners. Yeah. Should that be reversed to try and help your community efforts?
I mean, in the first instance, you are who you are. We're a PLC, we've got 85,000 colleagues, we run a series of big shops, we sell 300 million pieces of clothing a year, 2.5 billion items of food or more. So that's how we are. You're not suddenly going to turn a tap and reinvent that into this fragmented bunch of social business to replace that. What I've just said is over the next 10 years, M&S recognise that there's going to be significant migration in the marketplace. Exactly how it ends up, don't know. But it will be more personal, it'll be more local, it'll be more connected. And we need to future-proof M&S, we need to prepare for it. So I think all we're doing is giving ourselves a fighting chance of stepping into that future and participating in that new marketplace. But I can't suddenly tell you how M&S would stop being as it is and be very different. We've got a series of stepping stones, which is what all Plan A has ever been, from where we were to where we want to get to 5 years at a time. And this next part of the plan, the 10 communities, then taking it to 100, then taking it to 1,000, is the pathway to get there.
Folks, we got one more?
Sorry, yeah. Can I just respond as well? Because I think we're slightly different because we're quite new, and actually the business really embraces what we're trying to do. But as I think with any business, there are always going to be challenges. I was just saying to Mike that 2017 for TSB is challenging. This year we are moving away from Lloyds Banking Group's IT platform. So you can imagine that all the business is thinking about is that migration. But we are still trying to become that local bank. But essentially, the leadership embrace it, the business embraces it, but they recognise that it's just trying to fit it in with the other emerging challenges on a day-to-day basis.
There's one more question, I think, over there.
Yeah, and actually we're already touching on it. Sarah Dyson from GSK. I was just wondering how when you're thinking about your local presence and sort of justifying those that sort of expenditure and that approach that you're taking locally, how that matches up against global trends like artificial intelligence, automation, because it feels like you can't open a newspaper these days without hearing everyone's job's going to be taken by robots and artificial intelligence, which feels sort of opposite to what we've really been discussing this evening.
Claire?
Yeah. It's difficult for me to really have a nice opinion that you'll like about this, because I kind of think if the robots are coming, would you not rather control them, right? So who's going to design them and who's going to control them? And we have the ability to make some very significant decisions about that, as long as we give ourselves the skills to make sensible decisions, which is why I run Code Club.
And that's one of the things I love, if I can just end on, I love about Raspberry Pi is, you are owning the tools, you're teaching people to build stuff, not to be clinging on a technology that they're dependent on. They are owning it and you're empowering them to be shaping these tools. And that's, I think, a hugely important distinction as tech evolves. Folks, we have had the incumbents, or we set this up as the incumbents and the innovators. It turns out we got these really innovative incumbents, and we got these innovators who are going to grow and become incumbents because of the equity financing and the financing. And then we have, the fantastic example of your stuff, both of you, that's not small, it is the massive small, with its local impact and the global impact that you've had. Please join me in giving a big round of applause to the four panelists. Thank you.